sharing science-based psychology on my YouTube channel. And today we will be discussing about stress that teachers are experiencing, anxiety, and uh, when there is a lot of chaos, and that some challenges that teachers or professionals might be experiencing in their practice. And I will be sharing some strategies that they can apply to decrease stress and to react from their values and what matters for them, instead of reacting on autopilot or reacting and being controlled by anxiety or challenging feelings. So, how many times have you entered the classroom, for instance, and you had a certain plan for yourself, but when once you entered the class, students had a completely different plan for you? Oftentimes, we are constantly preparing for the classes, for the seminars, webinars, but there are some challenges that we haven't expected, and during those times, times of chaos, times of difficulties, it gets more challenging to respond with our values, because we are also humans. We have feelings, and it's quite normal sometimes to overreact or to react impulsively. And maybe you have prepared for the class your materials already, and you have thought about which activities you will be doing, and about timing, about transitions. And then maybe students have arrived and somebody is upset, or they got distracted, and maybe they are arguing with themselves. And within 10 minutes, all your preparation is gone, and your plan has changed, and your feelings have were challenged. And at this point, it gets very difficult to stay focused, or to stay focused on your values and to act with your values. And if you are a teacher or a professional who works under quite stress, it's quite common to experience these challenges. And you know that classroom reality often bears little resemblance to classroom plans that you have intended, that you have prepared. And what makes the difficult is not simply managing students' behavior or adapting instructions, but managing your own internal experiences and staying focused on your work, and acting from your values during these chaotic and challenging times is really difficult. And because while the classroom is becoming chaotic on the outside, something often starts to happening in the inside as well. Your internal change, and maybe your heart starts to increase, your thoughts speed up, maybe you begin questioning yourself. Maybe you start to blame or criticize yourself, why this is not working, why things are not going as expected. Or maybe you are saying, I should be handling this better, I should be reacting better, and I'm losing control, or I don't have time for this. And while you have these automatic thoughts, you are actually not present, and you are somewhere else arguing or criticizing yourself. And how useful is it for you to act with your values, or to stay present during those times? And oftentimes, while people are being caught and fused with their thoughts, it's difficult to react according to their plan or to their goal. And before long, you are not only managing 20 or 30 students, at the same time, you need to manage your own emotions and own difficult thoughts, maybe self doubt, maybe disappointment, maybe feelings of hurt and pressure, anxiety, frustration, and maybe burnout. And teachers work in complex, unpredictable environments. There is no guarantee that things will go as planned. And all of us, we are filled with human feelings, human emotions, competing demands, and constant change. And it's quite difficult to go in line, or to be constantly perfect, or to be able to manage all this stress. And even if you are having some feelings on autopilot, and if you are acting, being swiped by feelings, it's quite normal, because we are all human beings, and it's quite normal to have these feelings and sometimes get caused by feelings. And the difference is created when we can become aware of our feelings and thoughts, and this awareness and acceptance of feelings is the first step towards change. And if we can approach ourselves with kindness, with compassion, we can better and to come into senses better, stay present, and be more efficient in our life, careers, and relationships, because our inner world, a relationship with ourselves, actually is a great indicator and reflection of our feelings on others as well. Because if we are happy, if we are experiencing peace, we will be able to serve others better, to help others better, to be better in our careers, and everything will go easier. So the goal is not to learn how to remain connected to your values all the time, to your purpose all the time, and it's being able to notice when we are being swiped or when we are overreacting, and be able to calm down and refocus, and again to continue to taking steps even in the challenging times from our values. And emotional regulation is not about controlling what you feel, but it's becoming aware, noticing your feelings, and staying present, and choosing to act in line with your values even in the times of stress, times of challenges, difficulties. And staying present is important because everything is happening at the present moment, and things are not changing in the past, things cannot be changed in the future, and all the power we have is the present moment, and present moment is the place where we could choose we could choose what matters for us and act with the thoughts about who do we want to become in the presence of these fears or anxiety or challenges. And today we will be exploring some solution-focused brief therapy questions that you can ask yourself to cope better with stress. And also I'll be sharing some acceptance commitment therapy approaches and strategies that you can use. So what happens in the brain when people are under the stress? Generally, the part of brain that's responsible for feelings becomes overactive, and therefore even slightest stress might starts to see stress or any challenges as a threat, and therefore it tries to protect you. And this overreaction can be caused by this, and it's also oversensitivity. So noticing what you really need in order to recharge, to take rest, to take care of yourself, and asking yourself what was helping you to come into senses, to recover, to feel better, to feel rested, relieved in the previous times, in the past, and understanding your needs, and changing your behavior, activities, habits, routines accordingly is the first step towards taking care of yourself. So why strong emotions are not signs of weakness or failure? And we will be discussing about this, and we will practice skills that help you to create a little bit more space between what happens, the external experiences, and how you choose to respond. Because the most effective teachers are not the ones who never experience chaos, they are the ones who are able to notice their own feelings and to stay present, flexible, and purposeful in the middle of chaos. And that's the journey we are beginning here together. As we also have already mentioned, teachers have a lot of emotional demand, and teachers regulate their own emotions while simultaneously managing the emotional states of 25, 30 students. And this is extraordinary emotional work that has no direct equivalent in most other professions. And it requires sustained regulation capacity throughout the day, and minimal breaks, and being able to stay focused. And this is really hard and challenging. And research by Hatfield and colleagues have found that emotions are the person in front of you is able to feel your feelings, and according to mirror neurons, generally emotional state, facial expressions, and feelings are being reflected by your listeners, the people whom you are speaking. Therefore, if you can better manage your own emotions, able to serve others better, you will be able to contribute to others better. And therefore this is really important for you to manage emotions. And when, for instance, according to research, when a teacher was able to stay calm and focused and regulated, their students were also able to stay focused and regulated during the stressful times, and they were able to succeed and perform better. And reactive teaching trap. So most teachers don't walk into a classroom intending that they are going to overreact, to raise their voice, engage in a power struggle, or react harshly to a student, but many of us have experienced moments when stress takes over and we respond in the ways that don't reflect who we want to be as educator, as parent, or as colleague. And the reason is simple. When pressure rises, we often react from emotional state rather than from our professional values or the person who we want to be. And student, for instance, might be challenging us, and classroom becomes noisy. Maybe a lesson falls apart. Maybe suddenly we are operating from frustration, fear, exhaustion, or overwhelm, and this actually challenging feelings start to control our behavior. And these responses are understandable. They happen because we are human, and I'd like to invite you to think about a different question. Instead of blaming yourself and asking, how do I stop feeling frustrated or feeling anxious, we can start asking, when I'm at my best as a teacher, even during difficult times, what I'm doing differently. And noticing this is doesn't assume that you are failing, that there is something wrong with you, but it will help you to notice what's actually helping you to be a better person, to be a person whom you want to be, and which environments, what people, which routines help you, which mindset helps you to become a better version of you, even at the times of stress. And it assumes that there are already moments when you successfully handle pressure. Think about a recent challenging situation that ended better than accepted. Maybe there was something very stressful, chaotic, uh, something that was challenging you, but you were able to stay calm, to stay present, to stay focused. And maybe you listened before reacting, maybe you choose curiosity instead of confrontation. What helped you to do that? What was different about those times? Often, when teachers reflect on these moments, they discover they already possess the skills they are looking for, and that version, calm version, confident version, strong version, is already there. And what difference, for instance, could it make if that calm version of you showed up more often, and how it impacted other people's lives in the past when you were able to stay calm, because we're also modeling our behavior, and when we are able to be the person who we want to be, actually we are reflecting these values to our students or people around us, and they can use it as a resource in the future when they will have their own problems, their challenges. They can use the same strategies, or they can remember you as a model, and they can carry these features and these strategies into their own life, and that might also help them to succeed. So therefore, challenge is not creating new strength, but becoming aware what's already existing, what's already there for you. And suppose, for instance, if this calm version, if this successful version has already started to show up more often, what will be the first signs that you are already acting as that calm version, confident version of you, successful version of you? And what would tell you that you are moving into that direction? Suppose, for instance, that this version already started to show up in your relationships, in the way you manage stress, in the way you react to challenging situations. Maybe it's reminding yourself that this student is having a hard time, and not assuming that this student is giving me a hard time. And small changes matter because they create space, and uh, in that space that is created before responding, you can fill that space with kindness, with love, with contribution, with confidence, with willingness to contribute kindness. And think about the teacher you most want to be? When students are struggling, how do you want to show up? Do you want to be calm? Do you want to be respectful? Do you want to be patient, supportive, or caring? Which features you want to see in your relationships, in your interactions more often? And when you were able already to stay calm, to stay kind, to stay confident in the past when there were challenging situations, what was there about you that made it possible? What does it say about you that you can create change? And if you could do it in the past, this is an evidence that you can do it again. And those values don't disappear when stress arrives. Maybe you cannot hear them at those moments, but they're within you. And when you are when we are asking in the therapy these questions, we are actually reminding the people that they already possess all the qualities, everything that they need in order to be able to stay calm and to respond with their values during challenging times. So next time you feel yourself getting pulled into a reactive moment, try asking yourself, what would be the teacher I want to be the next? Not the perfect teacher, not the teacher with unlimited energy, not the teacher but the teacher who is guided by their values. Because emotional regulation isn't about eliminating difficult emotions. Nobody can do this. Nobody can completely delete automatic feelings or thoughts. But it's about creating enough space to choose a response that reflects the values matters for you, than breathing or taking a small break before reacting. And often that choice begins with a very small pause, a pause that allows you to move from reaction to intention, and from emotion driving behavior to values driving action. And those small moments, repeated over time, become a habit. And each time, when you are staying calm, when you are staying strong, confident, you are actually teaching your brain that change is possible and new pathways are created. And this would make it easier for you to react with calmness next time. And notice, for instance, emotional activation. Try to name your emotions. Which emotion is there? And diffuse from reactive thoughts. Maybe you have some thoughts that this class is impossible, or and when you notice that this is a thought, it's not a fact, it gets easier for you to react to these thoughts from your values. But when you get fused, this might cause frustration, this might cause anger. And what response is aligned with your teaching values right now? This pause, even 3-5 seconds, is the difference between reaction and response. And what difference would it create for your class or for your colleagues or for the future if you could respond with kindness? And taking breath, one slow, deliberate exhale, absorbing what's happening around you. Not the catastrophic interpretation, but waiting until you react. And the sequence takes under 10 seconds and interrupts reactive teaching patterns. And when was the class being manageable, even briefly for you? What were you doing differently? Almost always there are exceptions, and when we look closer to these exceptional situations and try to understand what's there, we can find a lot of resilience, a lot of capabilities, qualities that we can carry into our challenges. And what difference, for instance, would make for you if you could stay calm when students are driving you crazy, or you have these uncomfortable feelings or thoughts? And what would be different, and how you would feel about yourself? What would you notice about yourself? So also your routines, which routines, for instance, help you to stay calm in the past? Maybe you would notice that if you were able to sleep better, to eat better, to exercise more, to be physically more active, you were able to perform better. And noticing those moments can help you to find resilience and your strength, and you can use these strategies again for yourself. And how teacher starts the day, for instance, significantly predicts their regulation capacity by the afternoon. And some people notice that mindfulness meditation is helping them. And some people are finding is setting intentions at the start of the day, who they want to be, which qualities do they want to see more often today, and how they want to become. Or even speaking about challenges, for instance, in psychotherapy, we are listening to our patients and they are sharing their challenges about challenging times, and even thinking how they might react differently creates different opportunities and views for them. And once you can able to change it in your mind, it will be easier to carry it into behavior, into daily life. So you cannot regulate students from a dysregulated state, and the most powerful classroom management intervention is not the technique, it's a regulation, and everybody knows what better would help them. Therefore, asking you different questions and becoming aware what really might help you. Some people notice that they can stay calmer when they are thinking about their culture. Some people think that they can be a better person when they remember about their religion. For some, their kids, their family matter. So everyone's sources of inspiration, motivation are different, and we can always find our own ones. And according to emotional labor research conducted by Hochschild, there is a term called surface acting, performing calm while feeling anything, and it's more depleting and less effective than deep acting, genuinely assessing a regulated state. And act and mindfulness support the genuine regulation that makes teaching sustainable. So researchers have described something called surface acting, and surface acting happens when we try to look calm, to look patient and composed on the outside, while internally we are flooded with frustration, anxiety, anger, or exhaustion. And you know that this can feel like a student interrupts for the ninth time, or this class is becoming increasingly dysregulated, and you feel stress, uh, that your stress level is rising. Maybe you want to shout, maybe you want to scream, but you're forced to smile and say everything is fine. And outwardly you appear calm, but internally you are fighting a battle with yourself. And challenge is that maintaining this split between your external behavior and what's happening internally requires tremendous physical effort, and it might be exhausting fighting with yourself. And many teachers spend entire days carrying this invisible load. Unfortunately, oftentimes we even don't notice, we're not even aware of this struggle, internal struggle. So being able to notice your thoughts and feelings, or to see them reflection on other people, can be one of the ways of noticing and noticing your internal experiences. And that's why, for instance, if you are able to share it with someone, or if you are able to write down your thoughts and feelings, you feel better because you can better understand yourself. And once you feel heard, understood, or you are able to express your feelings or understand your internal experiences, generally the stress levels decrease, they dissolve, and person feels calm, they feel loved, understood, and welcomed. And now many teachers spend entire days carrying this invisible load, not being aware of it. And contrast that with what researchers call deep acting. And deep acting is not pretending that everything is fine, suppressing emotions, but it's not convincing yourself that nothing is wrong. But it involves genuinely shifting your relationship with what you are experiencing, so that your outward response emerges from a more regulated and flexible state. So, in a manner, it's recognizing that whatever you are experiencing was really challenging, it was difficult, and being kind to yourself and understanding what you went through, and creating a different relationship with that challenge. For instance, when I'm working with people who had accidents or traumas in psychotherapy, when people are able to understand their experiences and to construct a story from what they have experienced from the beginning till the end, they are able to construct different relationship with that story or that challenge, and uh, you can also change your relationship with yourself. Whom do you see in that challenge or struggle? Some people are seeing themselves as weak, as incapable, but when they can see it from different perspectives, that they really realize that actually what they have done requires tremendous efforts, talent, resilience, kindness, compassion, empathy, and they can see themselves from different lenses, where they can see themselves as capable, as lovable, as somebody who can do a lot of things, who can achieve a lot of things, and they realize that they are actually were able to experience a lot of challenges, went through that challenges, and were able to stay strong. And this becomes the point when that suffering gets decreased, and they are able to look at the future with more positive feelings, with more hope, and this becomes the point of healing. So psychological flexibility is the ability to stay connected to the present moment and remaining open to your internal experiences. And even though if we think that when we are trying to suppress emotions, when we are trying to numb or not to feel emotions or to stay strong, we think that we would succeed and we will get stronger. However, suppressing emotions in the long run uh, is not being useful, and it's even more exhausting. But when we can accept what we have experienced, our feelings, our thoughts, and when we can understand ourselves, this becomes the point that creates less stress and becomes the point of healing. So notice what happens when a difficult emotion shows up. Many of us immediately begin struggling with it, and they think, I shouldn't feel this frustrated, exhausted, angry, anxious. I shouldn't feel this way. I have to calm down. I can't let them see that I'm upset. And the mind moves into a battle against the emotion itself. But here is the paradox: the more energy we spend fighting with these feelings, not try to think about certain things or not to try to feel or avoid the feelings, we are losing even more energy, efforts, and time in this battle, in this struggle. And this struggle becomes part of the problem, and it becomes exhausting. And therefore, what process is happening right now, and what process would help me to move forward more effectively? Asking yourself these questions can help to see the challenge from different perspectives. And maybe the frustration is present, right? Anxiety is present, and frustration can still be here, and you still can act even in the presence of it. And you can choose different factors that would drive your behavior even when anxiety is here. And can anxiety come along for the ride while you can continue teaching in a way that reflects your values? And this is where mindfulness becomes powerful. And mindfulness is not relaxation. Mindfulness is not doesn't mean that your stress is going to eliminate completely, but mindfulness is awareness. It's the ability to notice that frustration, anxiety, exhaustion is here, stress is here, and that my mind is telling me that class is out of control, that they are impossible. And however, creating little space between the experience and the response, and in that space, something important becomes possible. It's a choice where you are no longer automatically reacting, you are starting to respond, and that response can be guided by what matters the most. Maybe your value patience, maybe you value respect, maybe it's important for you to help the person to feel safe. Maybe it's creating opportunities for learning in difficult moments and times. because students probably also feel the same levels of stress. And when you are able to stay calm, others can also be impacted by your calmness, by your kindness, by your patience. And sustainable teaching doesn't come from becoming emotionally numb. It doesn't come from pretending that difficult emotions don't exist. Sometimes it's sitting and crying together, sometimes it's understanding each other's feelings, and sometimes it's staying with these uncomfortable feelings together with the students. And it certainly doesn't come from wearing a professional mask all the day. Its sustainable teaching comes from developing the capacity to experience difficult emotions openly, regulate effectively, and continue moving in the direction of your values and what matters. Because because students are remarkably sensitive, they often know the difference between a teacher who is merely performing calm and a teacher who is genuinely grounded. And one requires constant effort, and other emerges from psychological flexibility. And over the course of a career, that difference matters. It matters for effectiveness, for your well-being, for your relationships to thrive, and it matters for the kind of teacher you are able to be, not just today, but years coming from now. So you can also give recovery between classes according to research if people are able to take breaks, and uh, they can uh, they can assign different activities that help them to get energized, whether it's a walk or moment of silence, uh, or taking slow breaths. This can help you to energize, to feel better, and to help to clear your mind from stress or uncomfortable thoughts. And different strategies would help for different people, and you need to find your own unique ways. And pausing protocol, taking slow breath, taking breaks before responding, and doing deliberate movement, lowering your voice rather than raising it. And these physical interventions interrupt the escalation before it reaches the point of reacting, responding. So, for difficult cases, you can ask, when was the class most manageable, or what was different that day, what helped me to to calm, to stay calm, to stay confident. And writing these three core teaching values on a small card, and keeping them during your teaching day can remind you about what you want to be. And journaling, also noticing your resources, your capabilities, what helps you to stay grounded, to stay calm during the stress. And this what might help you to use them more often. And resetting at the end of the class, or at the end of the day, reviewing your progress, noticing what went well, what has helped you, and making plan for the next day so that these plans or whatever you couldn't do will not uh, disturb you and make it challenging for you during the day. Because when we don't make out, or when we don't close our computers or programs, we continue to think about it during the night, and we are trying to generate solutions, and this might make insomnia or challenges with the sleep. So, what about genuinely dangerous or threatening classroom situations? Uh, Active emotional regulation is for ordinary classroom pressure, frustration, overwhelm, or student challenging behavior. For unsafe situations, institutional protocols exist, but the vast majority of classroom stress falls into the ordinary pressure category, where these tools are highly applicable. So today we try to discuss about different strategies, questions that you can use to help you to stay calm, resilient, confident, or caring during difficult times. I hope that this webinar was helpful for you. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications if you haven't, and you can also share this video with people who might benefit from it. And if you will have further questions, don't forget to leave your questions in the comments. Take good care of yourself, and see you in the next webinars again.